Hello and welcome to another episode of my Working with Todoist series. My name is Pullein and this week it's all about adding sections within a time sector. Now I've had a lot of questions about how to manage your waiting fors and how to manage your calls. If you have a lot of calls to make within your work, then there is another way that you can do this, or there is an additional way that you can do this that will help you to manage all that additional work. And even if you're not using the time sector system, making a section within a project called calls and called waiting for can actually really help you to stay on top of those kind of things that you have within your work. Okay, now before we go any further, let me just say if you do get any value from this episode, then please help me by clicking that like button below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you would like to get all the latest tips, tricks and news on using Todoist, then please subscribe to my channel. Okay, let me now take you into my Todoist and show you how you can use sections to help manage your day-to-day work. Okay, so let me take you into my inbox right here. And what we've got here are a number of tasks that you may need to follow up. So we've got a call here, call Jeff. We've got talk to Sarah, which probably would be another call. Tony's sending over next week's webinar's handout and look into replacing my old iPad with an iPad mini, which I'm going to show you just a quick trick that you probably already know, but just want to show you that a little bit later. But let's just deal with these first. So if your work is one of those kind of works where you have to make a lot of phone calls or you do have a lot of follow-ups, what you can do is take advantage of Todoist's sections. Now a section is essentially, if you move your mouse as you come down here, you can add a section. So here you can add sections like here, or alternatively, if you wish, you can go up here and you can add a section from the three dots on the top right. So there's a few ways of adding a section. What you've normally got, so let's just ignore this waiting for one. This is for my demo. But what I really want to show you is what we normally have if you're using the time sector system is you have your recurring areas of focus right here. And these come up every day when they need to come up. Now the beauty of using a section is that you can collapse them and you can open them. So here's my recurring areas of focus. Now in my real account I've got about 17 areas of focus. So I don't necessarily need to review these every week because they're recurring. They're designed to come up as and when they need to come up. So what I can do is I can just close that, and only when I need to review my recurring areas of focus I can open it up. So it keeps this project nice and clean. But for those of you who have to make a lot of phone calls or have to do a few items that you're waiting for, you can create additional sections in here. So for example, I've got one here called waiting for items. So let's say I've got an Amazon delivery due today, and Sarah will get back to me with details of the new design. Peter's new presentation dates are here. So these are my waiting for items, and I can leave them right there. And again, I can leave that open if I wish, or I can keep it closed. Now, I do have a few of my coaching clients, and this is why I wanted to cover this today, who have their work involves making a lot of calls. Now, when you have calls added to your this week's list, it can actually distort how much you've actually got to do. A lot of these calls probably only take 2 or 3 minutes, but you still need a reminder of them. So in those situations, what I would do is I would add a section. So let's call this section calls. And we're going to add that section. So that section is now added, and obviously there's nothing there. But if we go to my inbox here, I've got call Jeff about next week's Zoom Meet webinar. So when I'm processing at the end of the day, if I go to my select a project, I can click on this week, and it's now going to give me the sections down here. So I've got my recurring areas of focus, I've got my waiting for, I can just add that to calls. I can schedule that, and I'll say I'll do that on Friday, and that's it, job done. And it's now gone out of my inbox. I've got talk to Sarah again. If I tap on that, I think, oh, I'll do that again. I'll do that on Monday next week. So we can add that for Monday next week. Now the thing is, when we move to next week, there's no point in adding these sections into next week as well. I'm just going to drop that into next week. But if you wish, you can actually just drag it into there and just put it into calls, because you may decide on Friday, oh yeah, I'll call her on Friday. So it's now added. That's gone in. And I've got Tony sending over next week's webinar handover. Now, I haven't actually got a date for that. And because it's going into this week's project, I do like to date it. So I'm going to date that one for tomorrow, because I want to make sure that he gets it to me before the weekend. Again, I'm going to do that I'm waiting for. So if I tap on this week, I've got my waiting for. So I can just add that there. And I may wish, for example, if I really want it to come up in my filters, I can add a flag. I'm just going to leave that at P4. And now I've got look into replacing my old iPad with an iPad mini. Now, this is something that I really wanted to show you, because I don't think I've shown this for a while, but just to give you an idea how to set this up. Let's say that I want to buy an iPad mini. So I can save myself a lot of time. I can just go into the Apple website. I can go to iPad. I can click on iPad mini. And let's say I don't particularly want to make the decision just yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it. So I click on buy. So I get that particular website. And then all I have to do is Command L on a Mac, which highlights it, Command C to copy the text. And then we can go over to this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to edit it from here. Now, way to do it is, there's a few ways of doing it. My preferred way for this is just put the actual text in brackets. Sorry, close the bracket. And you paste the actual link at the front. Now you have to put a space in between. So I just like to do that first and then hit that. And when I click save, this is now a clickable link and it will take me directly to the website. That to me is much better than opening up the notes field and adding the comment in there, because it's not clickable. This is just much faster. I can now click on that and it will take me directly to the page that I want to go to, which is to buy the iPad mini. So there's just a quick tip. I just wanted to show you that. Now let's say we go into this week's folder. So now I've got my calls are open up here. And I've got my waiting for items there. So these can be open on a day-to-day basis. And because we're using sections, they're nicely and easily separated from the main this week's tasks. So I just think this, if you're in a job that requires a lot of calls or you're waiting for a lot of stuff, then don't be afraid to add these sections. Now the key is not to go overboard with adding so many different sections, because then it just becomes a complicated mess. And in my case, I don't need calls, I don't need waiting for items, I just don't have them in my Todoist. I use my email for that, because if I buy something on Amazon, if I do indeed buy an iPad mini, Apple will send me a receipt and they'll also tell me when it's going to be delivered, and I have a waiting for folder in email. But for those of you who do, if you're a manager in a company and you're waiting for your staff to come back to you, don't be afraid to add these sections. It's much better to keep them in sections. And to be perfectly honest, you don't necessarily need to worry about the dates either. So let's, for example, I've got in here into next week. Was it this month that I do it? It didn't actually go in there. Oh, it's still there. No, it's not. So I thought I'd actually put a task in there. It's not in there, but never mind. I must have sent it somewhere else. Oh, it's there. Talk to Sarah about it. I did actually Monday. I've put it into calls for this week. And that's actually something that I should point out, is I wouldn't worry too much, particularly if we get to the end of the week. Like, I'm recording this on a Thursday, and if I've got a call to make on Monday, I'm just going to save myself some time and just add it to this week. But the key with using the time sector system is, if you've taken the course, you've got the framework, you've got the know-how, you know how to set everything up, and you know how everything works. But it doesn't mean to say that you have to stick to those rules rigidly. We all work differently. We all have different jobs. We're all doing different ways, and we all have different ways of working. And you may need to modify it just to help you and to give you the information that you want to be able to see on a day-to-day basis. And I really wanted to stress that today. Don't be afraid to add these sections, but at the same time, don't go crazy and start making it too complicated. And certainly resist the temptation to create side projects inside this week, because you're just going to create yourself a mess of tasks that's just not going to help to speed you up. The whole point of the time sector system is it speeds you up and it makes you spend more time doing the work and less time doing the organizing and processing. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching this episode, and it just remains for me now to wish you all a very, very productive week. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. Now, I'd like to introduce you to a brand new way of managing your tasks. Now, this system is called the time sector system. It's designed to do away with your projects, to do away with your goals, or at least do away with them from your time management system, your to-do list manager, and instead focuses on when you are going to do the task. Now, the reason for this is from a research that I did for the whole of last year, figuring out why most people were really struggling with their task, getting their task done on a day-to-day basis. What I discovered was they were managing their task by project. And the biggest problem with managing tasks by project is, first of all, deciding whether a task is a project or not. 2 or more tasks becomes a project, which means that you end up with a huge project list. And once you have a huge project list, just managing that list takes up an awesome amount of time. Time you could better be spent actually doing the work, not organizing. The time sector method is designed to do away with all that processing so that the only decision you have to make is when are you going to do a task. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter how motivated, inspired, how urgent a task is. If you don't have time to do it, it is never going to get done. So I have launched a brand new course that gives you the step-by-step approach of setting up the time sector method. It's a revolutionary course. It's designed for the 21st century. For all the inputs that we get today, all the emails, the Slack messages, and everything else that comes our way, it's designed to deal with that, to manage that so you stay focused on what you have identified are your most important tasks for the day. I'd love to see you in the course. Full details of the course are in the show notes below. I'd love you to check it out. Join me in the course and let's take your productivity to a greater level than you've ever imagined. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I just wish you all a very, very productive week.